My name is Leela Carson, and I am 10 years old. I live in a small town called Maplewood, where everyone knows everyone and rumors spread faster than whispers in a crowded classroom. I am in the fourth grade, and if you think that age is all about fun and games, you are sorely mistaken. In my world, there is an ongoing battle for survival, and much of that battle is fought within the four walls of my classroom. You see, I have a nemesis. His name is Jeremy Green, and he is the kind of kid who thrives on making other children feel small. He is tall for his age, with messy brown hair and an arrogance that somehow manages to pass for confidence. I am more introverted, with long brown hair, glasses, and a love for books that I carry around like my own shield. You would think that with my love for stories, I could escape the reality of school life. But when you are bullied, the pages of your imagination can only take you so far. In the beginning of the school year, I had high hopes. My math teacher, Mrs. Thompson, was seen as the most beloved teacher in the school. She was hyper-religious and often spoke of goodness, kindness, and the path to righteousness. All of our classmates adored her, but my relationship with her would prove to be quite the tempest. I would often help Jeremy with his classwork, despite my deep resentment toward him. Mrs. Thompson seemed to think that I was the best person to assist him, even though I was the one he frequently tormented. After all, in her eyes, I was the dutiful student, and he was the star athlete. Everything changed one day during gym class when Jeremy had pushed me down repeatedly. Those moments taunted my patience, building frustration within me until it bubbled over. When I finally snapped, I swung my arm back and used my cast to hit him, even though I knew I could get in serious trouble for it. I was stopped by Mr. Martinez, our gym teacher, who was horrified by the chaos. Mrs. Thompson, however, was less than sympathetic. She called me the devil in front of the whole class, her eyes blazing with disapproval, as if summoning fire to consume me. From that day on, my world tilted even more on its axis. I was the villain in a story I did not want to be part of, and it felt as though Mrs. Thompson and Jeremy were reveling in their roles as the heroes. I could feel the weight of her words hanging over me, and being labeled as the devil was excruciating. I was furious, but instead of acting out in anger and hurting my reputation even more, I decided to dig my heels into a different strategy. Within a couple of weeks after the gym incident, I thought about how I could turn the tables. I had learned more about the internet over the last few years than most adults would have guessed, and I noticed how much the world was full of quirky and strange services that really got under Mrs. Thompson's skin. It struck me that Mrs. Thompson was so hyper-religious that she would absolutely despise anything that had to do with the supernatural realm. I began my relentless mission to find every single psychic, tarot reader, and medium service I could locate online. After gathering a complete list, I grinned to myself with the excitement of knowing how Mrs. Thompson would react. One cold, rainy afternoon, while she was busy grading papers, I used her school-issued email to sign her up for every single service on that list. I could not believe how easy it was to click through the forms. I felt like a wicked mastermind plotting my revenge. I spent the next few days marveling at how Mrs. Thompson would deal with the surge of emails, reminding her about her newly acquired services. I could not wait to see the expression on her face once it all began. As I walked down the hallway a few days later, I could hear whispers about how Mrs. Thompson was having issues with her email account. My stomach fluttered as I thought of how panicking she must have felt, wondering how an email could fill her inbox with so many unwanted messages. I was reveling in the moment when Jeremy approached me, his upper lip curling in disgust as he called me the devil again. It made my blood boil, but instead of arguing back, I decided to play innocent. I acted overly sweet whenever I interacted with her, gracing her with sugary smiles and polite words. I watched as anxiety took residence in her eyes while she scolded students on trivial matters, clearly distracted by her overflowing inbox filled with questionable emails. My heart raced with excitement, gaining strength from the chaos I had inadvertently unleashed. As her once loving demeanor began to fade with each passing day, I felt a thrill surge within me. The more I misled Jeremy during our math sessions, the more I noticed his confusion multiply like rabbits. I would feign understanding and lead him down the wrong path in solving problems, watching as his grades began to slip. There I was, a quiet storm breaching the walls of their fortress, causing a chaos that felt like poetic justice. It became abundantly clear that Mrs. Thompson had a breaking point, and I felt like an artist painting a masterpiece of revenge. She would hear conflicting instructions from me while failing to notice, confused and narrow-eyed, why Jeremy did not come up with the answers she expected. Her frustration was obvious, reaching the point where she would pace around the classroom when the wrong answers marched onto the board. I stifled giggles as I savored every moment of her unraveling, proving to myself and to her that calling me, the devil, might have awakened an unexpected force. Eventually, the consequences of my revenge overtook me. One fateful afternoon, Mrs. Thompson snapped. She slammed her hands onto her desk and shouted for the class's attention. Her eyes glowed with an eerie intensity as she clamped her jaw closed with furrowed brows. She began to ask us questions about our assignments, but her voice was laced with a tremor that reflected her inner turmoil. When I saw the look of utter frustration engulfing her, it dawned on me that my actions had spiraled into a situation far more significant than I first imagined. I felt guilty, but empowered by the invisible string connecting me to my nemesis. When the final report card cycle came around, I braced myself for the inevitable. Mrs. Thompson lectured us, biting her lip and twitching nervously, while Jeremy's despondent expression mirrored my own. I did not know how I would fare among her judgment calls, and the anticipation was maddening. The report cards landed in our hands, and I dared to look. To my surprise, I had managed to maintain a solid streak of good grades, while Jeremy had crumbled under the mounting pressure of failing math. The irony struck just as deep as the pain of being bullied, but as I surveyed my classmates, I realized there was a small amount of justice in the chaos I had sown. My revenge had not gone unnoticed, likely forging an unspoken bond of resilience among the students. The days passed, and I noticed subtle changes unfold around me. My classmates began to look at me differently, almost in admiration. I realized that this whole ordeal not only provided me with sweet revenge, but woven through it, a fabric of unexpected camaraderie developed within the classroom. Mrs. Thompson, however, remained oblivious to most of it, and the weight of my actions eventually caught up with me. I started to feel uneasy every time I saw her. Defiance turned into guilt, and guilt morphed into something far deeper, the recognition of our hidden humanity. Yet, the moment she caught wind of Jeremy's slipping grades, I saw the anger that had colored her previous reactions morph into something else, an understanding. Perhaps I was not the devil, but merely a girl who wanted her voice heard. The school year came to an end, and I found myself taking a walk through the Maplewood Park, reflecting on everything that had happened. The leaves crunched beneath my feet, and the cool breeze tousled my hair as I learned something valuable about myself. I had stood my ground, and through chaos, I discovered my strength. The narrative I had drawn did not end where I anticipated. One day, I caught sight of Mrs. Thompson at the local coffee shop. My heart raced as I felt the familiar urge to shrink away. But I did not. Instead, with a renewed spirit, I approached her table, taking her by surprise. The way she appeared unsettled brought a rush of excitement, but I simply smiled as I spoke. "Mrs. Thompson, I have learned a lot this year. Thank you for everything." She blinked, surprised, perhaps sensing the vulnerability shared between us. And in that moment, my rebellion transformed into something unexpected, breaking barriers between the devil and the angel adult she represented. It felt as though a flicker of respect danced within her eyes. As I turned to leave, I realized my path stretched far beyond what had happened. While the recollection of my revenge story lingered still, a transformation began to take place, wrapping itself around my heart, no longer filled with the desire for revenge, but with the understanding that sometimes, building bridges can summon greater strength than taking revenge. I walked away, embracing the unexpected lessons I had learned and wondering what stories awaited me in the future. Little did I know that the journey through chaos had sparked the flame of resilience blooming within me, leading me toward the new adventures ahead. And maybe, just maybe, I had proved to myself that even the smallest actions could invoke a wave of change, while the path to vengeance could transform into the trail of growth.